Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and today we're going to talk about Total War. Well, Creative Assembly in general I'd say, but there's a lot to talk about as I kind of want to do a State of Total War video as, well, let's be honest, things haven't been going too great lately, but the game is almost a year old and it's gotten better, let's be very honest here. So yeah, let's talk about it, let's talk about the potential future, and most importantly, we're going to look at this in a very neutral sense. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, and the great, as, yeah, I'd rather go a little bit into everything than talk about everything negatively. So on the 17th of this month, Warhammer 3 will be a year old. I know it's actually very surprising as we haven't really had a lot of content to even think that a year has passed. The release of the game itself was, well, shoddy at best, as Creative Assembly seemed to put a lot of focus into the Realm of Chaos campaign, a campaign which a lot of people weren't too interested in it due to the fact that the mechanics itself were just not great. Let's be honest here. The story in itself was fine by Warhammer fiction standards, but the thing is, doing the same story over and over again just with a different main character was kinda boring. The fact is that this game should have had at least a sandbox mode that didn't have the whole go into the realms of chaos stuff, just in case people didn't want that, and I think that that would have made the game a lot better, and it would have fared a lot better in terms of reviews at the very beginning. Paired with the fact that the release was buggy, despite that it had been delayed originally, a lot of people might not be too aware of this or have forgotten, but yes, this game actually was supposed to release in 2021, and did get a delay just to polish things off. I can only imagine what type of build we had back then, because, yeah, must have been bad. But we can say some positive things about the release of Warhammer 3. We finally got some monogod factions, we got all the demons, we had a lot of legendary lords, a lot of different playable factions, and in general, we got some races that we never really had on the tabletop. Grand Cathay is still very fun to play. Kislev is a faction that was in the tabletop in 6th edition, but never really a fully fleshed out faction, so having those two there was like a dream come true. Yes, they need content, they do suffer a lot right now, Kislev more than anyone else I think, but I can say without a shadow of a doubt that I'm still very happy that we've gotten these factions and I enjoy playing them. And if we go back to the subject of the demon factions, well, this was actually kind of interesting because if you guys remember, back in the day there were a lot of arguments in the forums and Reddit whether we'll get split factions or one faction for all the demons. We ended up getting both, which, yeah, is a positive. I think the fact that Total War Warhammer 3 took so long to actually get out was possibly a reason why we had this. A lot of work went into Daniel, and I'm not too keen on him, but still, the both arguments ended up being right, so it kind of worked out. Yeah. Now, yeah, the game was very buggy. This is an issue that happens a lot with Total War games, and it's something that I need to speak to you guys about because I don't know why you guys get surprised. The big problem with Total War games is that for a long time now, they've actually been releasing with loads of bugs. And I'm not saying this is because of the event that stopped the world very recently, but no, this goes back all the way to Rome 2, Attila, pretty much any Total War game if I can remember. It's just always been kind of buggy. And this shouldn't really be the case considering that Creative Assembly are very much titans in their industry. They've got the grand strategy title, essentially, right? Because many people have heard of Total War. Even if they've not played it, they've heard of the game series. And with each game, Creative Assembly get more and more popular. The Warhammer series has done them fantastic, right? Like, their player numbers in general for games that are very recent are usually so high compared to other grand strategy and even some standard strategy style games. So the fact that releases do end up kind of buggy, it just disappoints me because I expect better and really, you guys should too. The major issue about this is the fact that Creative Assembly like to push out a game a year when they should focus on quality over quantity. While this does sound like negative speaking, keep in mind that I love these games. I've been playing since Rome 1 and I expect games to be better, especially from a developer that's getting bigger and bigger. They've gotten fancy new officers, they've got loads of new hires. Yeah, we kind of expect the games to work. Hopefully in the future they've learnt this, but I don't know. We're gonna have to wait and see. Especially since we already know that there's 2 announced projects in the works, not including Hyenas. I really hope that, yes, that is another historical game, but that they have had enough time. Warhammer 3 has only released a year ago, well, not even a year just yet, and is that enough time to make a game? But anyways, that was just airing out some frustrations for the possible future, and I just don't want to think about that right now. We're gonna go back to Warhammer 3. So, buggy release. Some stuff didn't work, there were just loads of crashes to desktop, a lot of issues here, there, and everywhere. And while that might be bad, it kinda was good in a sense. Because Creative Assembly finally decided to start patching games more. Yeah, that might sound a bit odd, but keep in mind that back in the day, they would only really drop big patches alongside DLC. A type of work that really frustrated me in all honesty, because the fact is, they should be patching in general. So now we've got more semi-consistent patches. I think the average was every 6 weeks or so. It's been a bit quiet lately, but obviously Christmas and just their break kind of jumped into that. Hopefully we'll hear about a new patch soon though. Slowly but surely, yeah, the game started getting better and better and better, and yeah, sure, it wasn't still the game that everyone wanted. A lot of people really just wanted Warhammer 3 Immortal Empires, and who can blame you considering that, yeah, the map was data mined pretty much on the release of Warhammer 3 more or less, and yeah, it was massive. It was absolutely massive. Time went on and we heard nothing. Creative Assembly went quiet, as they normally do, because I don't know why, they just kind of shy away, and it's a bit of a issue. However, they did promise more communication, and more communication eventually started happening, whether in the form of a little bit of memery on Twitter, or just, you know, more patches, which is great. It is very important to note here that their communication levels do wax and wane. It's fairly random, which is confusing again. However, it has been the best that we've had in most recent years, so I'm not going to knock at that. I'm just going to say that they've done good. Yet still, quiet came, and, you know, from February all the way to pretty much August, nothing happened until Immortal Empires finally got a formal announcement, and yeah, we got the Immortal Empires map that everyone had been waiting for. We also got a DLC in the style of Champions of Chaos, which we're going to talk about now. Champions of Chaos was a large style DLC. It was kind of received in two different ways. A lot of people kind of liked it because it brought in all the units that were pretty much missing. There's still a lot more missing for the Warriors of Chaos, but yeah, 4 Legendary Lords, it brought in a bunch of unit variants. This is what people didn't like, because some people were like, oh, they're just reskins, which in fairness, yes, they are, but that's the thing. That's what was the lore, right? A lot of people expected fat Warriors of Nurgle or Chosen with a lot of mutations, but that wasn't the thing. A lot of people actually just got confused with the Putrid Blight Kings or the Wrathmongers, rather than actually looking at the established lore. As a point of DLC, I still think it's one of the best, because it fixes up a lot of issues and it brought in a lot of different playstyles. Now, the Warriors of Chaos give you a reason to play 4 different campaigns in its most baseline form, provided you own the Warriors of Chaos and the DLC, but you get what I mean. There's already a decent amount to play with. Further to that, we saw the release of Immortal Empires, and this is something that everyone has been waiting for. Yes, it was a little bit buggy, but there were a lot of quality of life changes to a lot of different factions, some mini reworks essentially, hell, even a lot of characters which were sharing starting locations now got moved to new ones. It was better overall. A lot of factions got a lot of love, and it gave you reason to play as some of your favorite characters once again. I, for example, really enjoyed Loki of Felheart, and it was nice to see him moved all the way to Grand Cafe, or hell, you know, Manfred down in the south, just to have a different experience with the Vampire Counts, as it's a faction that, let's be honest, has not really gotten a lot of DLC over the years. Patches became more and more consistent, which did fix up problems bit by bit. Yes, this game does have a lot of bugs, even I am aware of that, but it's getting better and better, and yeah, it was a weird thing, because it even took a while for mods to come into the game. Hell, even for like all the proper mods, because we needed some tools, and yeah, Creative Assembly just didn't release them, but wouldn't really say why. Again, a communication problem that still hasn't really been resolved, but hey, they're getting better, and baby steps are the best way to go. But here we are in the anniversary, and what do we have to show for it? Well, we have one DLC in the Immortal Empires. There is no DLC. We know that a DLC is coming in Q2, which will likely be April the earliest, or, you know, Q2 is April, May, or June, so within that time period. A roadmap was promised, and a roadmap has not been produced as of yet. They did announce it, and then they said, no, we're going to move it to January, which is fine, and then shortly after that said that they were going to move it to February, which is fine, you know. At the end of the day, we realistically, as a fan base, were not really expecting that much happening on the first month of the year, considering that they had just come back from Christmas break, as they do normally break for Christmas around the 15th of December, and yeah, you know, these things do take time. You have to kind of get the grease going, you know, wheels moving, all that type of stuff just to get back into shape. Before anyone does complain about that, how many times have you gone on holiday and then come back to work and you're still not even 100%? We obviously have to take into account that just like us, they are human. Now, the silence has made a lot of people worry. It's made a lot of people just very angry, and I understand it, but I feel like people are going to DEFCON 1 a bit too much. The thing is, yeah, a lot of people are worried because of what happened to Free Kingdoms. Free Kingdoms was doing alright, not really great, but it got slaughtered pretty much. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Long before it could even get a proper footing, because I believe that they were actually getting to the right point for DLCs for Free Kingdoms, because yeah, their DLC system was just odd, but it was getting so much better. But hey, here we are. Realistically speaking, do I think that Total War Warhammer 3 is in any danger? No, and there's a really big simple reason why. This is one of their most popular titles. It's still averaging around 20,000 players per day, despite the fact that we are in a very brutal content drought. Hell, even Warhammer 2 during the content drought was not doing this well. It would be incredibly stupid for Creative Assembly to get rid of something that is, well, very much making them a profit and still very, very much popular. I'm not going to draw the comparisons here between Free Kingdoms and Warhammer 3, mostly because Warhammer 3 is its own thing. Free Kingdoms, unfortunately, was just not selling because the DLC was kind of horrible. The fact is that we needed, what, 2 Yellow Turban DLCs, and they started off with the end of the story. That was just poor planning on their part, very bad planning in all honesty, because I don't know why they even thought that was going to be a good idea. But Games Workshop is a factor here, and Games Workshop are going to be hounding them because that's what Games Workshop does. And they're a massive factor because Games Workshop are now becoming more restrictive of who gets their IP. And we've all heard the rumors about a Total War Warhammer 40k, haven't we? It's been something that's been discussed on this channel for a few times. Other creators have been discussing it. Hell, even some former Creative Assembly staff were like, well, this could eventually happen, which to me just sounds like, oh yeah, it's happening, but I can't say anything or else I'll get sued. Because a lot of these types of games get put into development very, very early on. If memory serves, the announcement of the relationship between Games Workshop and Creative Assembly for Total War Warhammer was actually a few years before Warhammer 1 was even released. So yeah, if they want to keep on making Warhammer games and want that sweet 40k money, because let's be honest, if they do make a Total War 40k, that's going to make them a stupid amount of money. Like, Warhammer Fantasy would be nothing compared to the amount of money that a 40k game could make. Plus, I'm pretty sure that Creative Assembly are aware of two things. If they kill Warhammer 3, not only will they lose their chance at Warhammer 40k, if that ever happens, but the player base will not forgive them. There will be massive drama, more than there was for Free Kingdoms, because the Free Kingdoms thing is never going to leave people's minds. Even if they didn't play Free Kingdoms, it's obviously a wake-up call to the fan base that Creative Assembly obviously weren't really thinking. You screw over the fan base once, people will eventually forgive you. Not forget, but forgive you. You screw them over a second time, what happens? There would be a lot of repercussions, and yeah, that's definitely something that they're definitely going to want to try and avoid. Now, another thing is, there's a lot of people who are playing Total War Warhammer who are just Warhammer fans, not Total War fans. So, if they kill off Warhammer 3, they're killing off a large chunk of their player base who have no interest in a historical game, and that will cause issues. So again, I'm going to echo it, not just for the sake of the video, but for my own sake. I just really hope that Creative Assembly are not stupid enough to kill off one of their cash cows. But now we look towards the future, which we pretty much can expect the Chaos Dwarfs, considering how many leaks they had over the time. So yeah, Chaos Dwarfs are likely next. If it's something else, then I'll be very surprised. I don't know, because I was expecting them next after launch, and then we ended up getting Champions of Chaos. But I feel like we will end up with more DLC as time progresses. Whether or not Creative Assembly keep to this whole more DLC more often thing that they did state once but have yet to prove is completely unaware. I don't really trust what they say sometimes. But I imagine that, yeah, we will get more DLC. Hopefully at least, 2 a year would be great. 3 would be fantastic, 4 would be amazing, but I'm realistically thinking 2 DLC a year is going to be the norm, at least just for Warhammer 3. Then we have to obviously take into account that we're likely going to get another Total War game either this year or next. I really think it's going to be this year because Warhammer 3 was originally going to come out in 2001 but ended up coming out in 2002, and they usually do a game a year, so it kind of makes sense. Hopefully it's a game that people have been waiting for, not another Troy. I really hope we do get a Medieval 3 because I do like these games, but I do want another historical too. But I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. So yeah, in conclusion, yeah, things haven't really been going well this year, but we did get some wins because of it. So we might as well just be happy about that. And let's just hope Creative Assembly don't screw the pooch. That's my main thing. Keep loud, keep vocal, keep respectful, do not insult the staff. Remember, many staff members are just echoing what they're being told to say, so yeah, because I know some people have been kind of rude to staff sometimes, and it's just generally something that really shouldn't happen. But yeah, I honestly think that things are going to get better as time progresses. I do believe that Creative Assembly will start ramping up after a while, right? I do believe that we'll get DLC more often. I feel like right now, DLC is not coming out as it should, mostly because they're trying to fix up all the issues of the game. And in all fairness, yeah, I agree with that. I'd rather wait a little bit, get the game fixed up before DLC comes in and breaks more stuff. But with all that being said, what do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let's have a little bit of a discussion, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.